All right, everyone, welcome back to another edition of Southern Discomfort. And we have got a special series plan coming up for y'all. So we'll talk about what we're going to be doing here in the next few minutes. But as always, I have my lovely bride-to-be, Bethany, the queen of Thanksgiving recipes.
Thank you, but that's not true. I did not make those.
Now, why would you want to deny such delightful delicacies?
Because I didn't make them. I'm not that bad of a cook.
Nobody said anything about it being bad. I actually, at last year's Thanksgiving, when you did all this stuff, I thought it was pretty inventive. I mean,
I would never soak my turkey in Powerade.
The hit of the party was these.
Okay, enough.
These these went over well. The tuna salad shots.
All right. Get it off.
Those were.
Come on, just get it off the
party.
Channel. Come on.
I think I'm going to leave this up there the entire show, so people will not forget to serve tuna salad shots this Thanksgiving. Hey, PW, thank you for being here.
PW, tell him to get it off of the screen.
All right, fine. I'll put this one
Thank
up there.
At least that doesn't make me gag. Yeah, that.
It's the Powerade turkey. Now, the good thing about this one is you can get hydrated while you eat.
What would that taste like?
Well, I can tell you from experience with eating it from last year when you made it.
I didn't make it.
It tasted like, imagine a turkey that tasted like Fruity Pebbles. That's how the Powerade turkey tasted.
Actually, to be fair, I'm trying to think of how it would taste, and Powerade is not strong. So actually, it would probably be pretty bland.
Uh-huh. Hey, Jorge, welcome. Glad you're here with us.
I gotta look that up.
You're not gonna make it again this year? Do you have all of your Thanksgiving stuff ready for Thursday? You're all prepared?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Mm-hmm.
You got it all ready to go into the incinerator you call an oven, correct?
I'm not going to incinerate, but yes, the turkey is thawing in the refrigerator, prepped for me to make it on Thursday.
Hey, Kenneth, welcome. Glad you are here with us. Thank y'all for hopping into the chat and watching along with us. We've got
what?
What?
One of these days, I'm going to surprise you, and I'm going to go ahead and make a lot of these 1950s recipes that calls for things like 20 hot dogs, a big 20-pound jar of mayonnaise, and raisins.
I'm sure it still won't be as good as this.
Okay, just get it off. Come on. You know what bothers me? Come on.
I'm just going to pop it up randomly during the show.
Stop.
So you never know, all right?
I don't know.
Random Zeke generator.
I'm
just going to pop it up.
Okay, the one that really got me, and I can't even say it, was when your oldest boy cub sent me a picture of vomit.
That was great.
That was disgusting.
That was awesome.
Oh,
it was a lot of fun.
No, Think of lemons. I'll just think of lemons.
What does thinking of lemons help you do?
Because the smell of lemons will help you not be nauseous.
Well, then why don't you just spray like lemon scented pledge up your nose?
You use that as hairspray.
No, actually, I don't use hairspray. Blondie.
No, you use Pledge.
No, I don't use anything.
So what's on the docket
Although,
for tonight?
I can make fun of myself from this. You remember this one? There was the time where I accidentally used the dog shampoo in my hair. Do you remember that?
Yes. And you were like, why is my hair really weird? It's kind of dry.
Yeah, that was funny. The kids had bathed the dog and left it in the shower, and I wouldn't pay attention, just reached down and grabbed something and put it in my hair.
That was around the same time you slid down the stairs on dog poop.
Yes, I did slip on dog feces one time down the stairs in the middle of the night.
That was funny.
Yes.
Well, that's as bad as, remember whenever mine were babies and one of them threw up on the linoleum floor in the hallway and I slipped on that and popped out my shoulder?
I do. I remember that.
Yeah. It was funny and it hurt. And I did a flip too.
Yep. Living Bon Jovi, slippery when wet. So, well, look, we have a very awesome series that we are going to be starting tonight. So this is one that I have really been looking forward to doing once I kind of thought it up, and kind of earlier than I expected, but I had everything ready. So I was like, well, why not just start tonight? So we are going to start a series on the infamous Necronomicon, Ex Mortis, as talked about in The Evil Dead. But we're going to do a lot of cool things with this series. All right, tonight we're going to talk about H.P. Lovecraft and the Necronomicon. We're going to wrap up tonight ending with Evil Dead. And then next week, we're going to kind of look at how the Necronomicon is used and talk about its influence in the Evil Dead, because the Evil Dead is my favorite franchise of all time. Hold on. I must deal with a kitten who is being bad.
Poor Eden.
And,
why'd you kick her out of the room?
Because she likes to get up under the bed here where I'm sitting, and she likes to bite and scratch my feet. And then
Good.
she likes to try to jump up and climb up the blinds and then slide down them. So it's just too distracting when I'm trying to do the show. So she had to go out. I'll let her back in later. So, and then once we wrap up looking at its influence in the Evil Dead, then we're going to go in to talk about some of the more developments of its mythology and talk about the 13 gates of the Necronomicon. So, y'all hold, as the guy says in Jurassic Park, hold on to your butts, because we're going to have a pretty fun ride here. Hey, CC. Welcome.
Well, at least you wanted to talk about this and not who was your favorite Muppet out of Sesame Street.
I like the old guys.
That's the Muppet Show. I'm talking about
Muppets.
Sesame Street.
You said Muppets. I don't like any of the characters on Sesame Street.
Well, they were all created, I'm pretty sure, by Jim Henson.
Yeah. Anyway.
So, you don't like Grover?
I like Grover, all right. But we're not going to go down the rabbit hole of Sesame Street, because nobody knows how to get there anyway. Hey, Johnny Small Pepper, welcome.
Didn't we have a debate one time about how to get to Sesame Street?
I did something like that, and I aggravated you for like 3 days straight with it.
Yep. Because you kept asking. It just...
if Bethany tells me something bothers her and annoys her, that's like the worst thing she can do, because I am going to just harp and harp on it. So if something came up about, can you tell me how to get to Sesame Street? And I went on a 3-day tangent talking about how nobody really knows how to get there because they keep asking the question before every show.
He would not let it go. And I mean, that's all he talked about.
Well, Cece likes Cookie Monster.
I like Grover. Grover and the blue guy.
The blue guy.
Yeah, the bald blue guy.
I don't know.
You weren't a fan.
Oscar the Grouch is probably my favorite.
I wonder why.
I don't know. Birds of a feather, so they say.
Apparently so.
Johnny Smallpepper likes Elmo. Oh, I'm so glad you said Elmo,
No.
Johnny, because Bethany hates Elmo. Hey, Stock Explorer, welcome to the chat. So here's what everybody needs to do for Christmas: send Bethany Elmo Christmas cards.
No.
Yes. Yeah, Johnny, I like Oscar. Johnny said Nora too. So yes, Bethany's favorite is Elmo.
No, it's not. And this is as bad as the one year you signed me up for Hallmark.
So, all right, we are going to get back on the subject of the Necronomicon. PW's putting some things in there about the Evil Dead and Deadites. So we are going to go ahead and kick things off, talking about the Necronomicon and its development and then its influence in horror. And the Necronomicon, or the Book of the Dead, was invented by H.P. Lovecraft in his writings. Now, for those of you, and I doubt there's anybody who watches this show who doesn't know who H.P. Lovecraft is, but just in case there is, he was a writer in the early, mid, late 1900s. I'm gonna put a picture up of him right here. Huge influence in horror literature. And we're going to get into looking at his developments with the Necronomicon. But first, just to kind of show you his influence, there's some movies. There's lots of horror movies that have been influenced by H.P. Lovecraft's works. And, one of those is the shirt I'm wearing right now. What is it, Bethany? I guess Bethany can't read.
On that note, you're on your own.
Well, come on. It's one of your favorite Lovecraft films.
I know what it is, and everybody read it.
Okay. Reanimator. Other films. Bethany, what are some of your favorite Lovecraftian films out there?
The Curse, and then there was a Boris Karloff one that I really liked, and then I think The Haunted Palace. Those were Lovecraftian, but to be honest with you, there were a lot of segments in Rod Serling's The Night Gallery that were based on H.P. Lovecraft. Those were more my favorite.
Mm-hmm. Any particular ones come to mind?
I think it was The Devil Is Not Mocked.
Okay.
That was the one of the professor, who I think was reading from the Necronomicon.
I don't remember. Like I vaguely, it's been so long since I've watched Night Gallery. That's something you and I need to revisit.
Yeah, it is. It's just that it's hard to find. And what's interesting about Night Gallery is you had before Rod Serling, you had I forget the name of the host. I can see him, but that had more to do with psychic. I'm talking about the ones with Rod Serling when he was the host, and it was more geared toward horror and science fiction.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, there was another thing that now that you mention like shows like that, do you remember the show that they did? This was in the 2000s, Masters of Horror.
Yes.
There was a Lovecraftian one in that, the Witch House or something like that. At the Witch House, to the Witch House. I don't remember the title, but it was based off of Lovecraft too. And you know, you also have films like The Dunwich Horror, Dagon, one of my favorites, From Beyond. And then Bethany, the other one we have to mention. This is one of our favorite horror movies. If you watch John Carpenter's In the Mouth of Madness, that whole thing is a tribute to Lovecraftian horror, from its title all the way down to how the story plays out and its elements of madness and insanity. What was some of the other ones I was thinking of? Bleeders, I think, is another one that was a really fun Lovecraftian type horror. So newest one, Color Out of Space with Nicolas Cage. That is a kind of one of the newest Lovecraftian theme horror movies out there. So the point is Lovecraft's writings have permeated modern horror culture. He was one of the biggest influences on writers like Stephen King, Clive Barker. He continues to play an influence on writers today. There is a whole Lovecraftian now mythology out there in a Lovecraftian style horror genre. It's even influenced me. A lot of my writings have Lovecraftian influences, like in my Theodosia books, the ethereal plane. And you also see that teetering the edge of insanity and sanity in some of those books, especially with Theodosia's mom, Sarah. And there you can kind of see her teetering back and forth on the edge of sanity. And in the new book that I am developing, that is a follow-up to the Dreadful Death series, we take a look deeper into Sarah's psyche and about what's going on there with her. So Lovecraftian influence is all over, but no bigger influence has there been other than the Necronomicon. Now, when we go through Lovecraft's writing, and the thing about the Necronomicon is, and what you have to understand about Lovecraft that made him a genius of his day, is he invented the Necronomicon. Okay, it is a work of fiction. It's not a real book. However, back in when one of his first published stories, I think, that mentioned the Necronomicon was The Hound. It was written in 1922, then published in 1924. And when it came out, he mentioned the Necronomicon, and he developed this whole Fox history about it and its influence and its writing. And we're going to get into some of that. In the way that he did it was so convincing in his time that people believe that this was real and this book existed. And it wasn't till much later that, when Lovecraft was being asked about it, that he admitted that it was something that he dreamed up, because a lot of his works were written from dreams that he had, and the Necronomicon was something that he had made up. Yes, Cece, he was ahead of his time. Hey, crossover, welcome. Thank y'all for stopping by and hanging out with us. We're talking about the Necronomicon, specifically the influence of in development in H.P. Lovecraft. So the Necronomicon, when we look at Lovecraft's writings, it was supposedly written by what he dubbed as a mad Arab. And the Arab's name that he made up was Abdul al-Hazred. And he started kind of throwing things out there in his stories about the Necronomicon, about it being written by quote unquote this mad Arab. And when you go through Lovecraft stories, you see this ever developing theme of the Necronomicon. Lovecraft is big on what he calls the old ones, and the elder gods in the Necronomicon supposedly talks about how to summon and get in contact with these type of old ones. And once we get into the 13 gates of the Necronomicon, we're going to talk about which gate holds which certain elder god and creature. It's this whole fascinating mythology that is really, really cool. So we're going to get into that. And hopefully what this will do is this will inspire you to go back and read some of Lovecraft's stuff. But Bethany, I think that you can concur with me here. When you read Lovecraft, you have to kind of commit to it because it's nothing like modern writing. Bethany.
No, it's not. And I think you and I had talked about it once. It's very eclectic.
Yeah, it is.
And it seems to come in waves, because I noticed that especially in the late 60s, early 70s, it was very popular. And then the start of the slasher movies kind of pushed that aside.
Mm-hmm.
And then it came back briefly in the 80s, and then the slasher movies again. But then it kind of shifted more toward possessions.
Yes.
And the westernized theology,
yep.
a lot more so, regarding horror and thriller.
Mm-hmm. Stock Explorer in the chat told you hi. We got National Parks Princess, welcome. Glad that y'all are here with us. And you're welcome, Cece.
Hello, everybody. Again, I can't see chat, so hello, welcome.
Yeah, and the thing about Lovecraft, too, is in his stories, it was just the way that he wrote in the style of the day, there is very little dialogue at all. So, which is different from a lot of modern stuff that you're used to reading. So you're going to have to go into that mindset, and you're really going to have to pay attention. It's not just easy reading that you can skim through. Like, you got to pay attention to what is being said.
The best way I could describe it to me, it reminded me of, and I know that the movie was not, nor was the book based on Lovecraft, but it kind of had that feel to it, was Picnic at Hanging Rock.
Mm-hmm.
Mostly the ending, the very ending that they thought was lost, and then they revamped, which I don't want to give it away.
Yeah. Dustin is in the chat. So y'all say hello to Dustin, PPR, the brains behind all of this, the spearhead of the channel, my brother from another mother. Dustin is a little indisposed right now. And just to kind of tell y'all what's going on, and Dustin, I'm going to spill the secret, but it's tough being a creature of the night. Like, Dustin's werewolf meds are acting up, and he's got to get on something else to regulate his transformation, because it's just going haywire right now. And so we can't have him out on the streets killing things and letting blood out and having all this ruthlessness. So Dustin is trying to get those werewolf meds regulated. So
I beg to differ. I just think you're coming up with excuses, especially since his voice now sounds like he's going through puberty.
So stay safe, Dustin. Make sure that you lock yourself in a cell and chain yourself down somewhere.
Pretty much like anyone going through puberty should.
Transformation. Getting back on the subject of Lovecraft and the Necronomicon. Like I said, many people believed it was real in the writings of Lovecraft. And what happened with this is when you got into some of the later years, you had people like, I think it's like in the 1970s, somebody came out with this book that was purported to be the real Necronomicon. And then that just kind of built. And so for a long time, people thought that this book actually existed. But it is fictional in origin, but people used this in order to make a buck. And they kind of rode those curtails. But let's talk about a little bit about the origin and the meaning and how Lovecraft came up with the name Necronomicon. We see in places, it's not really clear, but it seems to be that, like I said, he came up with it in a dream. And there are some other people who've tried to say that, he was influenced by this writer. But we see that he had purportedly read these stories of other writers after he actually came up with the Necronomicon on his own. So what Lovecraft said about the Necronomicon is that it was translated from the Greek language, and it literally meant like a law of the dead or an image of the dead. And he took and combined some Greek words, the word necros, which means dead, nomos, which means law, and icon, which means image. However, kind of the ending that he used for icon was not really the Greek word for icon. Instead of being what we would translate EIKON, it was IKON, which doesn't mean image at all. So the very transliteration that he came up with in the name of the book was wrong. So that should, kind of hint at its fictitious origin right there. But he was honest about it. When he was asked about the truthfulness of the Necronomicon, he said that it was his own invention, that this book was not real, that he made it up. It came from dreams. And this is what he said. Now about the terrible and forbidden books, I am forced to say that most of them are purely imaginary. There never was any Abdul al-Hazred or Necronomicon, for I invented these names myself. Robert Bloch, it's another famous author that if you haven't read his stuff, Lovecraft goes on, Robert Bloch devised the idea of Ludwig Prynne in his De Vermicelle Mysteriis, while the Book of Ebion is an invention of Clark Ashton Smith. Robert E. Howard is responsible for Frederick von Junz and his, I can't pronounce that German name because I don't read German, so sorry. As for seriously written books on dark, occult, and supernatural themes, in all truth, they don't amount to much. That is why it is more fun to invent mythical works like the Necronomicon and Book of Ebion. So Lovecraft himself is admitting that he made all of this mythology up. Now, as a writer, what I can say is I understand that. So when you look at some of my writings, especially my whole Theodosia universe, I've made up ancient documents like the Book of Saul, the secret gospel of Thaddeus. And so as a creator, I get that and why you would want to do that. And I've developed a whole mythology behind the development of these books and what they teach. And all of that influence comes from H.P. Lovecraft and his Necronomicon. And so it is definitely a fascinating study. And so H.P. Lovecraft says that everything in his writings about the Necronomicon he came up with. Now, the debate is, where was he getting his ideas? Like, some people say that his dreams were inspired and that these deities really do exist. And some people say they don't. I'm not here to tell you what to believe or to say whether it is or isn't. I'm just here to present to you the information, and we're going to get into that mythology later and talk about the 13 gates and how all of this was developed into a kind of a religion, so to speak. So some people say Lovecraft he's making stuff up as a fiction writer. Some people are saying, yeah, he was making stuff up, but there's some truth behind what he was saying. He was contacting something. He was speaking to something through his dreams. And so that, at the end of this, that's going to be for you to decide on your own where you come down about Lovecraft. My job on this show, Southern Discomfort, is to present to you the information in all of its untethered glory so that you can make an informed decision, whether depending on which way you decide to lean. So he goes on and he talks about the guy's name, the Mad Arab. And people have pointed out that even the name that he made up does not even translate well into Arabic at all. And so this was another thing that Lovecraftian scholars will point out to say that it was purely fictional, because even the transliteration of the Greek is not well done, and neither is the Abdul Alhazared's name doesn't translate well back into Arabic and stuff like that. So that's just another point of history to bring out in there. Now, what's fascinating, though, is in 1927, Lovecraft ran with this thing. Hey, Sheena, welcome. I'm glad that you're here with us. Thank you for stopping by and joining us as we get into our series on the Necronomicon and H.P. Lovecraft. So in 1927, Lovecraft comes up with this whole pseudo type of history in the Necronomicon. And it's not published until 1938, and it's called The History of the Necronomicon. And I would encourage you to find it, to read it. It is fascinating stuff. It's brilliant. Lovecraft was absolutely a brilliant writer, and develops this whole entire world and mythology, which is just completely fascinating. And so it's developed, and he publishes this history of the Necronomicon, where he goes back and he gets into how it developed from the mad Arab or the crazy Arab and stuff all the way back in 700 AD. So it goes and he spells things out and talks about how he worshiped these deities called Yog-Sothoth and the ever infamous Cthulhu, right? That's another famous Lovecraft story and movie, Call of Cthulhu. You see Cthulhu mentioned in the Mountains of Madness, another great Lovecraft story. So he gets into all of these different types of deities, right? So Lovecraft, in what makes it fascinating in the history of the Necronomicon, is he weaves in real deities with ones that he made up. So he's kind of combining history and fiction, which kept the readers guessing about the veracity, the truthfulness of this. It was absolutely brilliant. And that's another thing, depending on what side of the fence you fall on, is some Lovecraftian scholars look at that and say, well, it's interwoven with history, so there is some reality to it. And then other people say, no, he's just a fiction writer. Fiction writers do that. So anyway, he gets this whole backstory developed in the history of the Necronomicon. And I'm not going to go into all of the details of it because it's too long, but I would encourage you to get a hold of it, because he includes popes in here, and he includes Greek text, Latin text, how there was somebody who had a version of it and their library got burned down in the Salem witch trials and stuff. So he goes in and he's weaving all of this sort of history into his development of the Necronomicon. And the way that it is written it's absolutely sounds like he's trying to convince you of that it's real. And that's another thing. People argue that he's writing this like he's real. And then you have people on the other side that say, well, yeah, of course, any good writer is going to write in a way to try to convince you. That's what makes good fiction. You're dragging your readers into this world that while they are in it, it becomes a reality to them. The stories, if you want to go back and read Lovecraftian stories that mention this famous book of the Necronomicon, you have already mentioned this one. At the Mountains of Madness is one, and The Case of Charles Dexter Ward. And I think about 4 or 5 months ago, I just finished up The Case of Charles Dexter Ward. Again, Lovecraft horror is not an easy read. You have to mine through it, but it is definitely worth reading and getting some of these details from. Another story he mentions the Necronomicon is the Nameless City, the Call of Cthulhu. We have mentioned that before. And the Dunwich Horror I wrote down here, in the Dunwich Horror. Okay. This is another famous one, and you can find this movie to stream it. So if you'd rather watch the movie than trod your way through the story, I would recommend that. But this is where, Bethany, you still with me?
Yeah, I'm here.
What is the famous university from Lovecraftian horror? Do we need to play Jeopardy music?
I can't recall it. Go for it.
You don't know. Can't remember. What is Miskatonic University? Does that ring a bell? Bethany.
Actually, no, it doesn't.
What?
Yeah.
How can you say no? It's mentioned in all of the. It's mentioned in Reanimator. That's where Dr. Herbert West is there, and he's got the sweatshirt on that says Miskatonic University. It's mentioned in the
well,
other
there
Lovecraft
you go
movie.
with the Easter egg. I mean, like
the other Lovecraftian movie that I forgot to mention is The Unnamable. Miskatonic University is mentioned in there as well.
Well, excuse me for not paying minute attention. So there you go. Now you told everybody an Easter egg to keep an eye out for.
Yes. When you go back and watch these Lovecraftian films, you gotta keep an eye out for the things that are there from the book. So in the Dunwich Horror, this is where Wilbur Whatley talks about and goes and visits the library at Miskatonic University, and he finds an unabridged version of the Necronomicon. And so just more history in the development of this. This story gets into the old ones and more about Yog-Sothoth, and kind of goes that route in the development of some of the themes. What's also fascinating about the Necronomicon is Lovecraft developed places where the book had actually been held so that people could see it. Some of the places he wrote down were the British Museum, Harvard University, the University of Buenos Aires. CPW mentions that in the chat. Miskatonic University, which was Arkham, Massachusetts. So Miskatonic University supposedly held the Latin translation. And he gets into a little bit of that about the Latin translation in the history of the Necronomicon. Just a very brilliant man to write all this the way that he did. Now, let's go back and talk about the hoax translations. You ready to do that, Bethany?
Go ahead.
The hoax versions of the Necronomicon. So what happens is, although Lovecraft admitted that there's no real Necronomicon, that didn't stop people from running with this idea and creating these books that were supposedly the real translations of the Necronomicon. The first one that came out, I mentioned earlier, was the 70s. It came out in 1973 by Owlswick Press. They issued an edition of the Necronomicon, apparently from this indecipherable fictional language called Duriak. And this was they made it like a limited edition of only like 300 and something copies available. And so with the printing of that book, you get the line between fiction and reality blurred even more. And then this goes on and on. You had another one that was published that is referred to as the Simon Necronomicon. And the Simon Necronomicon, this one is not based off Lovecraftian mythology. What this one does is it actually gets into Sumerian mythology. And so it's vastly different than the one that was published before it, because it doesn't play off the Lovecraftian themes. Like this is a whole different route of the Necronomicon, right? This is, what we see a little bit in the Evil Dead franchise, right? You see a lot of Sumerian mythology. So the Evil Dead franchise, though it plays off the Necronomicon, it plays off the Simon version of the Necronomicon. That's where you get the Clandarian dagger. And, if you go and you watch Ash versus Evil Dead, they do have the dark ones. And then in that series, you've got Ruby, and you've got some different other Sumerian mythology that comes out in the whole Ash versus Evil Dead series. And so that's why we're including Army of Darkness, Ash versus Evil Dead, all of that into this mythology of the Necronomicon, because though it's not strictly Lovecraftian, it does get into the same type of development. So we've got two things that we're doing here. We're following kind of one route with H.P. Lovecraft and his Necronomicon, and then we're going to follow another route with the Simon version and its Sumerian mythology that plays a part in the whole Evil Dead franchise. So all in all, we're going to kind of get a well-rounded view of this. So just there are some more hoax versions that came out. So just anybody out there, if you're going and you're trying to find a book of the Necronomicon, it's out there, but know that a lot of this was hoax, and it was made up trying to play off the popularity of the Lovecraftian mythos, and then that tension there at the time when people didn't know, is this fact or fiction. So what these two versions of the Necronomicon did, the ones by Alwick's Press and then the one that's called the Simon Necronomicon, they ran with that, and they treated this like these were real translations from real text. So it's just really, really cool, and they're worth getting and worth reading, just because they're great in the time and effort and put into this for the development of the mythology. Is just fascinating to read. And yes, PW, she brings out a good point here, saving me from having to say it. Yes, Crowley and Lovecraft were friends, and they did have a relationship together and knew each other, and did some studies and things together. So that is definitely correct. So what we're going to do now is we're going to, since I'm talking about Evil Dead, and let Bethany, hold on. Anything else you want to throw in there, baby, about Lovecraft or his movies, or any other story I may have missed that you like, or even something, because y'all know Bethany is a writer as well, and we actually have some stories coming out on I can't talk tonight. We have stories coming out together in an anthology later in 2024. But baby, is there anything else you want to mention about Lovecraft or his influence, or anything that's influenced you?
No, not really. No. But I admit I was never personally influenced by Lovecraft.
Yeah, Bethany wasn't a huge
Mm-mm.
Lovecraft fan. I think you were more Edgar Allan Poe, weren't you?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. See, I love Poe as well. Like, I have both of their complete works. So
Lovecraft, it's hit or miss, and it's, to me, his work, it can be confusing, and it kind of has a tendency to go on a bit. For me, again, it's just my personal. It doesn't mean that I'm right or someone else is right. It's just personal preference.
Personal preference, and that's the way art is.
Mm-hmm.
Right? It's all subjective, and it's about what you like and what you don't like. But yeah, it's Poe is definitely more. I'm trying to think of the word.
Melancholy.
It's melancholy, but it's he was a poet as well, so his writing, it flows better.
Yes.
Maybe that's what I'm trying to think of.
It flows better, and it's
it's definitely easier to read for modern audiences.
I would say it's more, I'm trying to think of the proper word.
Yeah.
Lovecraft, you could take his work in a million different ways. One thing could mean 1,000 different things to different people. Poe, it's pretty more direct.
Yeah, it's less ambiguous.
Right.
Yeah, and PW points out too. I think we both agree. Poe definitely has a gothic flavor to him, where Lovecraft has more of a cosmic, mythological flavor.
Well, but that wasn't the issue, though. Like, I agree, but that was never the issue because I do like cosmic writers. It just.
Yeah, the styles are totally different. And I just mentioned that because, if you just talk about, different writers have different themes, right? Lovecraftian was more cosmic mythology, religion. Poe was definitely would fall into the gothic category.
I would say, especially because he basically made up these worlds and everything, it reminded me more of Tolkien.
Mm-hmm.
That's probably more which the things that are the inspirations for a lot of his work are pretty fascinating. Yeah, myself personally, it just did not resonate with me. But I like other cosmic authors, ones that do write about different worlds and whatnot. But yeah.
Yep. So Necronomicon, developed from the writings of H.P. Lovecraft. So you have the Necronomicon that goes with the Lovecraftian mythology. Then you have the Simon version of the Necronomicon that goes with more of Sumerian theology. So we did a little introduction of H.P. Lovecraft, and now we're going to kind of switch gears a little bit and prepare ourselves for next week. All of you who have watched this show long enough, and any of you who have read my Johnny Walker Ranger books, you know that the Evil Dead franchise is by far my favorite horror franchise of all time. You can even see up on my wall behind me the Army of Darkness poster, along with my Johnny Walker Ranger Demon Slayer picture over there in the other corner. And I've got some Army of Darkness comics up there on the wall as well. So it is by far my favorite horror franchise of all time. Now, those of us who have watched these movies, we all know that they center around the Necronomicon Ex Mortis, the Book of the Dead. Now, Bethany, what happens in the first Evil Dead movie when they go into the cabin and they find this tape and they play it and they hear the guy reading from the Necronomicon? What happens after that?
The dead come back.
Right. It releases these demons into the world. And what happens is these demons begin to possess Ash's friends, and they turn into deadites. And right in that first movie, you have to dismember them to kill them. Now, within the Evil Dead franchise, okay, you've got the movies in that franchise thus far. You have Evil Dead, Evil Dead 2, Army of Darkness, and then the Ash versus Evil Dead series. Then you have the two movies without Bruce Campbell as Ashley J. Williams. You have the Evil Dead 2013, and then Evil Dead Rise that just came out in this past year in 2023. So you have within these movies, okay, if you go back and watch them, let me pull this up right here. You are going to notice, if you are an observant watcher of these films, you're going to notice, based on Army of Darkness, it says that there are 3 versions of this Necronomicon, 3 different versions that exist. And the thing that we're going to look into is how each of these versions play into the Evil Dead movies. And the other thing that we're going to talk about, because if you go back and you watch these movies and just kind of a cursory watching of them, you're going to kind of be confused a little bit on how is it that a person actually becomes a deadite, because there seems to be some different rules. And then there seems to be a couple of different rules about how you are actually supposed to be able to kill a deadite. So for all of you Army of Darkness Evil Dead fans, the next show is going to be a treat for you, because I'm going to get into how the movie uses these 3 different versions of the Necronomicon and break down how they talk about the different ways of becoming a deadite and how it all meshes together. So if you are a horror movie fan, if you're a fan of the Necronomicon mythology, if you are a fan of the Evil Dead movies, you don't want to miss next week. And if you know anybody who is as well, invite your friends, have them come out and watch, because it's going to be a lot of fun next week. I'm gonna go back and check in the chat. Yeah, PW brings up an interesting thing here. I remember reading about that. Yes, people do use it for ritual purposes. We're going to get into that in this series when we start talking about the 13 gates of the Necronomicon and that development. And yes, a guy was arrested for using it on innocent people in the 60s. I do remember reading something about that as well. And you go into more. Yes. He was arrested. Uh-oh, I lost Bethany. Her internet must be acting up. So thank you, PW, for popping all this in the chat. It definitely makes things easier on me. So I really appreciate you doing that and popping that stuff in there. Thank you so much, PW. So coming up later this week, we have moved the Immortal Shadows show to Sunday night. So instead of doing it on Thursday night because it's Thanksgiving, instead of just canceling it and not doing it, I moved it to Sunday night. So Sunday night, I'll be back live with Immortal Shadows, and we are going to be looking at Revelation chapter 5. We're still going to be, that's still part of the throne room vision that John has. So please come back and join us for that. Yes, PW, you are my secretary. Definitely helpful. So Immortal Shadows Sunday night, and then Tuesday night we will be back again with Southern Discomfort, talking about the Necronomicon. Depending on how this brain works and what I come up with, be on the lookout. I may do some pop-up lives here like I did Monday night. I doubt I do one this Monday night, since I'll be on Sunday and then Tuesday. But you never know. I might, or I might do one Wednesday. So just if you haven't hit that notification bell, hit that to make sure that you get all of the notifications. Yeah, PW, no Thursday. We're gonna take the holidays off and have a break, and I'm gonna spend it with my kids. But we will be back Sunday night to do that. But yeah, just go ahead and like the video, leave a comment, subscribe to the channel, share it out. Y'all's support means the world to me and Dustin and Bethany and Vickie and Tanya. We thank y'all so much for supporting this channel, supporting what we do. We just can't thank you. Oh, look, here's Bethany. Let me pull her back up. You okay over there?
Yeah, just the internet cut out.
Okay, I figured that's what happened. I was just wrapping things up. Now, Bethany, do you want me to tell them they can contact you if they have any questions about Thanksgiving recipes?
I want you to know that it's a good thing that the screen is off, because I'm certainly giving you a symbol that I will gladly show you later.
Oh, I'm number one in your heart. That's
eternally.
You know, she tells me I am number one all the time. And it makes my day to know that I am so loved and thought about and cared about. It means the world to know that you think that I am number one. Thank you, Boo Bear. You're speechless. Oh, her internet's going out again. I will, Dustin. I'll ask her about it when she gets back up here. If her internet will cooperate. Yes, we are soulmates, PW. I love her for eternity. Hopefully she can get back up here. I want to ask her about Dustin's voice text. See what to see what that's all about. Oh man. We'll give her a minute. Just to remind everybody, while we are waiting for Bethany to come up, I have Beware of Monster. That is this month's Southern Discomfort issue, available on Godless. This one has been really one of my favorite ones that I've written so far. It is a really fun story about these two 12-year-old kids in the bayou down next to New Orleans that stumble upon a grunch monster. Now, for those of you who aren't familiar with the urban legend of the grunch monster, it is a voodoo legend that basically says, okay, Marie Laveau the legend goes, Marie Laveau supposedly loved this man, and the man ended up breaking her heart and going off, and I don't remember if it was marrying somebody or staying with this other woman. So she puts a curse on this lady, and when the child is born, it is the devil baby. And what happens is, hey baby, I'm talking about Beware of Monster real quick. So what happens is Marie Laveau takes this devil baby and cuts its testicles off, and the testicles fall to the floor and become the male and female grunch monster that lives in the swamps of New Orleans. I break down that voodoo legend a little bit more in this book, but you have 12-year-old kids going out and they find this grunch monster in an old train yard, locked in this inner modal, and they're trying to figure out what to do with the monster. It's a really fun book, a lot of tension, a lot of suspense. It's got some decent blood and guts and gore in it. So I think this is one that y'all would really enjoy. That's Beware of Monster, available right now on Godless. Bethany, Dustin wanted me to ask you about the voice text he sent you.
Yeah, I think it was because I'd made fun of his puberty voice.
Oh, what he did he send you a one with like his voice cracking and stuff?
No, he sent me a spooky one that said that he was watching.
We're just, that's the thing.
He does have a creepy voice, just saying. He can make it very creepy.
We're like a family. Like everybody takes shots at everybody. It's so fun. Oh man, that's great. I'm going through the chat. Yeah, one of these days, Bethany, we need to do a show on Marie Laveau, because there's a lot of misinformation out there about her. That would be.
What would you
Oh, just
say?
Just talk about who she really was. She wasn't this evil person that she was made out to be.
Well, thankfully, there is a lot of information out there. There are books. There are.
Yeah, but the problem is people don't read these books. That's why people like us who do study it need to read it and help get that information out there. So, I don't know. Just a thought.
I think that's up to everybody in chat.
It may be, I don't know. Well, we shall think about it and see. But right now, for the next several weeks, we are going to be focusing on the Necronomicon. And now, we were talking about Sesame Street earlier, and I think it was Cece who mentioned she liked Cookie Monster. Every time I say the word Necronomicon, I want to follow it up with nom 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 nom, like Cookie Monster, like the Necronomicon nom nom nom. It's just the way I want it to roll off my tongue.
I always think of that really inappropriate story.
That's vague.
I'm not going into detail about it on YouTube.
Gee, that really inappropriate story. Like,
think about it.
It's a broad brushstroke there.
Blank Monster.
Oh,
that one. Yes.
Yes, my story idea.
Yeah, I'm not on here. Not on here.
No.
Mm-mm.
No, definitely not on here.
No, way, way inappropriate.
Um, yeah, we'll get a strike for that for sure. And I told Dustin that I will not get strikes on this channel.
Right. No, this is very family friendly.
He has entrusted me with allowing me to spearhead 2 shows during the week. So I have to behave. So no strikes for me. If we're going to get strikes, we're going to let Dustin do that all on his.
Yep.
Oh, man. Love you, buddy. Miss you. Bud Files, thank you for popping in. We're just wrapping up talking about the Necronomicon, nom, 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 as Cookie Monster would say. Let me go back through the chat, see if I missed anything. See if I missed saying hello to anybody. Nope. I think I did well. I think I caught everybody.
So no show this Thursday?
Nope. We will be back on Sunday night with Immortal Shadows, diving back into the book of Revelation.
Oh, Dustin sent me another audio clip.
Oh, man. What was this one, Dustin? Are you listening to it, Bethany?
Okay, seriously, Dustin, that is the most terrifying voice I've ever freaking heard. It sounds like a demon. That is creepy.
Oh, you know what? Set that as your ringtone.
No.
Yes, set it as your ringtone.
No.
Why not? Now, here Dustin goes through all this trouble to leave you a nice voice message. The least you can do is set it for your ringtone.
No.
And then, no, what would be awesome is you set it for your ringtone, and then at night, you forget to put your phone on silent, and then me and Dustin can like text and call you all night long, waking you up to that.
Do that once, and I will shave off your eyebrows and give you a very strong widow peak.
You can't reach that high, shorty. You're like 5 feet tall.
You're trying to make me seem to be as short as Thumbelina. That's not that short.
Yep. All I have to do is stand on my tiptoes, and you can't reach me.
You have to sleep sometime, buddy.
I'm a light sleeper. Bring it, Blondie.
Hey, nothing, a little bit of just something in your coffee to put you to sleep.
I wouldn't drink anything that you handed me to save my life.
I would have Emma do it.
No, I don't trust anybody.
You would trust
I'm going to have my
You wouldn't trust your little girl.
I'm going to have my own personal cupbearer, all right? So, like, in the Bible, in the book of Nehemiah was a cupbearer to the king. So he was like the one who tested all the drinks and food before, it was brought.
They had tasters for all the royalty, but go ahead.
Yes. I'm saying Nehemiah was a cupbearer. So I need my own Nehemiah when I'm around y'all, because here's the thing, I do way too much crap. And I know that they're going to try to get me back one day. So I have to be on my toes.
Ain't nothing like a little Gorilla Glue and some acrylic nails from Walmart and some shaved eyebrows that are then painted on. I'll tattoo them on your face. Like, I don't care. So you always look surprised.
Tattoo what? Eyebrows?
Yeah.
We'll see.
Get them up high so you always look surprised.
Here's the thing though, is like I would be passed out sleeping and you would be sneaking in the room to try to do your eyebrow thing or whatever it is you think that you can do to me. And then you would be just walking across the floor and there would be nothing in the way. And then you would just trip and that marker or whatever you got would fall and it'd go right up your nose.
I think you're just grasping at straws.
No, let's talk about who runs in the doors.
You're about as goofy as I am, Mr. Oh crap, I passed my exit.
Passing an exit and then running into a door is not even on the same level.
I haven't run into a door in years.
But you still ran into a door.
Years ago.
You still did it.
This is just really good illustration to anybody watching that you do not let anything go.
I have a great memory, unlike you, Miss Goldfish. Oh, let's talk about this, right? So last night, remember I told y'all I was going to let Bethany pick the movie that we were going to watch.
Uh-huh.
So she picks a found footage movie called Chest. And we're not even we're 8 minutes into it. 8 minutes. And she's like, I'm bored.
I was. I'm sorry. I was bored. It was a boring movie. You agreed?
And I looked at her and I was like, Bethany, this movie's only been on for 8 minutes. How can you?
Hey, most movies have 10 to 15 minutes. If I am not entertained or at least hooked in that 10 to 15 minute window, I'm out. You are codependent with movies. You will stay in way longer than you should in hopes that it'll get better, which pretty much describes either why most people get a divorce or why they should.
Well, I can endure bad movies. It's what I do. I write movie reviews on bad movies.
People will shut it off. It's like that death toilet that you recommended. I'm telling you, most of your audience is going to watch about 15 minutes of it and go, oh God, I can't.
Oh no, I guarantee you they won't even watch it for 5 minutes. It's that bad.
Yeah, true.
But me, I watched the entire 55 minutes of it and wrote a review on Death Toilet.
Because you're codependent. You will stay in for the duration, hoping it gets better, and then it fails.
So, yeah, CC, 8 minutes. And so I told her, I was like, you have like the attention span of a goldfish.
Because with work and kids, I have to pay close attention to everything. So when I want to be entertained, you have a short window and it better be good.
So I gave her 3 chances. So she picked Chest and that one was no good. So I said, okay, pick another one. And then she picked another one and that one sucked. And then she picked one more that
I thought it would be safe with trauma.
Turning it off, Stephanie in the incinerator. So Bethany was 0 for 3, and she wants to talk about how I pick crappy movies.
I at least have the decency to shut them off. You will make me suffer through it and be like, aren't you watching? Why aren't you watching? Are you watching? Did you see this scene? You're not even watching the movie. Yeah, you quiz me.
I compare the broad expanse of my movie appreciation like a top quality chef who
you're codependent. It's the sheer definition of it. Staying in something way longer than you should.
Who has this palate to where he can enjoy an Asian cuisine, a French cuisine. I'm the same way with movies.
No, I would say you're more like that person that will literally eat anything. Earthworms, dog turds, garbage, dirt.
I have a very exquisite taste. Like the whole monkey brains thing is a delicacy, right? Very few people will eat that, but it's a delicacy.
It's like inhumane, actually. I mean, like
the monkey brain eater of of movies.
No, you're the person that will eat anything. Dirt. You're that guy in France, the one who, oh, what was his name? Maybe PW will know what I'm talking about. He was the guy, he had something wrong with him. He literally ate everything and he smelled horribly bad. I call PW the researcher. She probably will find out who I'm talking about, what his name was. That's you. He would consume anything. He was accused, I think, of eating a child. That didn't happen, but I forget what disease he had. That's you. Eat anything. You'll watch anything.
Right. And, you know, there's a reason that they call things like this a rare disease, because not everybody has it. And so I'm like the X-Men of watching movies. I have this rare power that has evolved in me to where I can watch anything.
Yes, and you don't have to make fun of it. That's not like Mystery Science Theater where you have to make fun of it to endure. You can just sit there and find, you won't shut it off. Like, it has to be, I don't think you've ever shut a movie off.
Well, here's the thing too, is you've read my movie reviews. I absolutely make fun of these movies.
Yes and no, but not at the time.
Oh, not at the time. Because my brain is working. I'm like, how can I spin this and make this a funny movie review? And then trick people into watching this terrible movie. So I can be like, haha.
Yeah, because I'm sorry, honey, you have horrible taste in movies.
Okay, no, I don't. Look at my movie list that I have come up with. There are great movies on there that even you say were great, like the Christmas one, Krampus,
Not Red Snow.
You didn't finish Red Snow.
I couldn't.
You didn't stick with it.
15, 20 minutes in, I'm out. That's a long time.
You're just jealous because my expanse is wide.
No, I'm not jealous. Believe me. I'm not jealous of the fact that you can endure any dumb movie.
Yes, you are. I can
I'm not.
The jealousy. I've tried to pass my superpowers on to you, but you don't want it.
No. I mean, some of these movies are so bad you could literally feel your life just start to pass you by. It's depressing.
It's all about perspective. All about perspective. We are going to go ahead and wind it up tonight, folks. Thank you all for stopping by and joining us for our series on the Necronomicon. We will be back Sunday night with Immortal Shadows. And then Tuesday night again, we're going to look at the Necronomicon as it is in the Evil Dead franchise. So be sure to come and join us for that. Everybody in chat, thank you all again. Thank you for your support. And Bethany, do you have anything to say?
Yes, Dustin, thank you so much for sending me another audio clip. This time it was a demonic growling. Thank you so much for that.
Ah, sweet dreams. Thank you, Dustin.
You both are asking for waking up one morning with shaved eyebrows, acrylic nails, Gorilla glued to your hands.
Mm-hmm.
And I swear to you, I will tattoo in lipstick on your lips. Both of you.
Mm-hmm. No.
Purple.
I can sure
reddish purple.
You can sense how terribly afraid Dustin and I are.
No, here's why I know you're not afraid. Because if I did that, you would retaliate. You always retaliate in like the worst, most horrible ways.
Yes, I always nuke it from space.
You don't play around. You will go full force, nuke it from space. There's no subtlety. You're about as subtle as a gunshot blast.
Yes. It's my personality. What can I say?
True. All right, my dears. Have a great holiday if you celebrate it. If you don't, just have a great rest of your week.
And we are going to sign off. Y'all stick around. We're going to play our inspirational video that Dustin has done for the channel here. So y'all stick around. Hope everybody has a wonderful holiday, and we will see you back here on Sunday night.
Is this what giving up feels like? I don't know, I don't know. Tell me, have I lost my mind? Nowhere to go, so far from home. Is this what giving up feels like?